What do you do when heaven seems silent, but something is moving in the unseen? I came to tell somebody today, you are standing on the edge of divine interruption. Just like Joseph, who went from the prison to the palace in a single day, God can flip your story in 1 hour. You think it's ordinary time, but in God's hands, 1 hour can birth a miracle, release a blessing, or open a door no man can shut. The clock is ticking, but it's not counting down to loss. It's counting down to destiny. You've been waiting, praying, believing, and now heaven has set an appointment with your life. And what I'm about to reveal to you about this could shift your perspective forever. But you must watch this video until the very end. Don't skip. You see, we are so used to measuring life by our own clocks that we forget the universe doesn't move by seconds or hours. It breathes in rhythm with eternity. We look at the watch, we look at the calendar, and we say, nothing's happening. But time, as you understand it, is not the same time that God uses. What looks like stillness to you is movement in a higher dimension. What feels like waiting is actually alignment. And when all things converge in the divine rhythm, 1 hour can hold the power of a lifetime. There's a mysterious beauty in how the universe works. You plant a seed in the dark, and for weeks there is no evidence of life. But under the surface, roots are stretching, soil is shifting, and nature is composing a symphony of becoming. The seed doesn't rush, it trusts the soil, so it is with you. What you call waiting, heaven calls preparation. What you call delay, heaven calls design. The power of divine timing is that it's not your schedule that governs the miracle, it's God's. Imagine Joseph locked in prison, forgotten by the cupbearer who promised to help him. He must have counted the days, wondering when his promise would arrive. Then, in 1 hour, Pharaoh had a dream. In one conversation Joseph was summoned. In one divine moment everything changed. The hour that delivered him was not random. It was sacred. The universe had been weaving a pattern through betrayal, through pain, through disappointment, all leading to that one point in time where preparation, that opportunity, and destiny was born. Now think about this. You don't have to push the river, it flows by itself. You don't have to force the timing of your transformation. The universe is not waiting for your impatience to catch up. It's waiting for your awareness to open up. When you stop fighting against time and begin to flow with it, you realize that divine timing isn't about waiting. It's about trusting. The caterpillar doesn't complain about the cocoon. It knows the stillness is part of the becoming. The cocoon is not confinement. It's construction. We often believe that God's delays are denials, but that's because we see time as linear. To the divine, all moments exist simultaneously, waiting for consciousness to meet them. What you're waiting for in the future already exists in potential. When you align your energy with trust, gratitude, and readiness, you begin to meet that future halfway. The miracle was never late. It was simply waiting for you to be ready to receive it. Think of the ocean. Each wave rises and falls not in chaos but in harmony with the moon's pull. You can't command the wave to rise before its time, but you can learn to ride it when it comes. Divine timing is that unseen tide, subtle, rhythmic, and irresistible. When it arrives, you don't need to strive, you simply move with it. That's the beauty of faith. Not forcing what isn't ready, but being ready when it comes. And this 1 hour that's been spoken of, it's not a measure of minutes. It's a measure of readiness. When the vibration of your faith matches the frequency of your purpose, that's when the divine hour strikes. Suddenly, you're no longer waiting for life to happen. Life is happening through you. The phone rings, the opportunity appears, the path unfolds, and you realize it wasn't a coincidence at all. It was a convergence. So when you find yourself wondering why it hasn't happened yet, breathe. Step back. The same intelligence that set the stars in motion has not forgotten you. Your life is part of that same celestial order, that same sacred rhythm. Every disappointment, every delay, every detour, it's part of the choreography of destiny. The music of your life hasn't stopped playing. It's just building toward the crescendo. And when the divine clock strikes, it won't whisper, it will roar. The shift will come so suddenly that you'll wonder how long it had been waiting for you to notice it was already in motion. That, my friend, is the power of divine timing. When heaven moves, 1 hour is all it takes. There's something strangely divine about the moments when it feels like nothing is happening. You pray, you plan, you work, and yet the doors stay shut. The silence grows heavy, and your heart starts to wonder if heaven forgot your address. But what if that silence isn't absence at all? What if it's a sacred setup? What if the quiet is not a pause in your story, but the prelude to something extraordinary moving toward you? Life often conceals its miracles behind ordinary days. Think about it. Before the Red Sea parted, there was stillness. Before the stone rolled away, there was silence in the tomb. Before dawn break, there's always that deepest stretch of darkness, when it seems like even the stars have abandoned their posts. But it is precisely in that stillness that creation takes its breath before revelation. The unseen is not inactive, it's pregnant with purpose. We've been taught to equate movement with progress, but some of the most profound transformations happen beneath the surface, invisible to impatient eyes. A tree doesn't shout while its roots dig deeper. The foundation of a cathedral is never admired, yet it bears the weight of heaven's art. God does His finest work underground, in the invisible spaces of your life, where nobody is watching, and yet everything is changing. It's easy to think you've been forgotten when you can't see the evidence of your prayers. But imagine this: a seed lying under the soil, feeling the weight of the earth pressing against it. If it had a voice, it might say, "I'm buried." But from a higher perspective, it's not buried, it's planted. The same dirt that seems to suffocate it is the very environment that will nourish it. The soil isn't punishment, it's preparation. You're not being buried in obscurity, you're being rooted in destiny. Consider Joseph again, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, locked in a prison cell. On the surface, his life looked like a tragedy unfolding in slow motion. But every step was a divine chess move. God was positioning him in places that didn't look like purpose but were essential to it. The palace couldn't find him until the prison refined him. He wasn't stuck, he was being set up. Every disappointment was a direction in disguise. This is how the universe works. It hides transformation in transition. It dresses destiny in disguise so that only faith can recognize it. The silence you fear is often the sound of divine construction. You can't hear it because heaven doesn't work with noise. It works with knowing. It doesn't broadcast every move, it builds quietly. What if the reason you feel so still right now is because your life is being aligned, detail by detail, for a moment that will look like suddenness to everyone else? The truth is, life's greatest surprises rarely announce themselves. The phone rings, the door knocks, the opportunity arrives, and it feels random, spontaneous, almost supernatural. But that's the trick of divine timing. What feels sudden is always secretly prepared. The surprise doesn't come from nowhere, it comes from everywhere. Everything that has ever happened to you, all converging into one sacred instant. And maybe right now that's exactly what's happening in your life. The people who left you, the seasons that broke you, the prayers that felt unanswered, they've been weaving together a tapestry you haven't yet seen from the front side. On the back it looks like tangled threads, but when it's turned around, the picture reveals the purpose. You are standing in that in-between, where the invisible is assembling what your eyes can't yet comprehend. So don't curse the quiet. Don't despise the delay. The silence of God is not the stillness of death, it's the stillness before birth. You are not stuck, you are staged. The universe has been working in stealth, shifting circumstances, moving people, aligning pathways for what's about to break through your horizon. And when it happens, it won't make sense to your mind. But your spirit will recognize it. You'll realize it was never sudden at all. It was simply your turn is not empty, it's full. Faith is a peculiar thing. It's not built in the light where everything is clear. It's born in the shadows where you cannot see. When you stand in the waiting hour, faith becomes the bridge between what is and what will be. You may feel suspended in midair, unable to go back, uncertain how to move forward. That is where faith whispers, "Be still." Trust what you cannot yet understand. Faith is not the denial of uncertainty. It is the calm acceptance of it. Think about the times you've waited. Maybe for healing, for love, for direction. We spend so much of life asking, when will it happen? When will things change? But in that questioning lies an assumption that life is on pause until the answer arrives. What if the waiting itself is the answer? What if the space between promise and fulfillment is the very ground where your soul matures? Faith doesn't demand immediate evidence, it thrives on invisible assurance. It teaches you to see beyond sight. There is an old truth before the harvest. There's always a season of stillness. Farmers know it well, they sow, then wait. The soil looks dead, but they don't panic. They trust the process because they've learned that nature takes her time. Likewise, faith is learning to wait without worry. The divine works with timing, not deadlines. The universe is never in a hurry, yet it's never late. When you rush, you step out of rhythm with creation itself. But when you trust, you find yourself moving with the current instead of thrashing against it. Remember Abraham, who was told he would be the father of many nations. Years passed, no child. Every birthday became a reminder of a promise unfulfilled, yet it was precisely that waiting that made his faith legendary. Faith, you see, isn't proven in the receiving. It's proven in the waiting. The moment between the promise and the manifestation is where belief either deepens or dies. Abraham had to learn that the waiting wasn't punishment. It was refinement. It was shaping his spirit to hold the weight of the blessing. Waiting tests you, but it also reveals you. When you can't see the outcome, what remains? Do you panic? Or do you learn to rest in the unseen? Sometimes, the delay is God's way of asking, do you love me for the promise, or for who I am? Because when you trust without proof, you've moved from religion to relationship. Faith transforms from an act of striving to an act of surrender. It's a beautiful paradox. Faith grows strongest in moments of uncertainty. Like a muscle under resistance, it strengthens as it stretches. The tension you feel right now, the not knowing, the waiting, isn't proof that nothing's happening. It's proof that something inside you is expanding. You're learning to live by a rhythm that doesn't rely on control. Faith isn't about manipulating outcomes, it's about aligning with what's already being formed. Sometimes when we ask for faith, we expect a feeling of confidence to follow. But real faith doesn't always feel like confidence. It often feels like standing on the edge of something vast and invisible, with no map but trust. It's the quiet courage to believe that the same intelligence that orchestrates galaxies can handle the details of your life. You don't have to see the entire path. Just the next step illuminated by trust. And here's the secret: the moment you stop fighting the waiting loses its power over you. When you stop asking, when, and start saying, I'm ready whenever, something shifts, you step into flow. You stop counting the hours and start noticing the grace within them. That is faith, Not a desperate grasp for certainty, but a gentle surrender to mystery. So if you find yourself waiting, don't fill the silence with worry. Let it refine you, not define you. The waiting hour is where your spirit learns to breathe in rhythm with the divine. It's where fear gives way to freedom, and control gives way to trust. Because faith isn't about getting what you want. It's about becoming who we're meant to be while you wait. And when that hour finally comes, it won't just bring what you asked for. It will bring who you've become. It's an interesting thing. How easily we overlook the people and moments that carry the very answers we've been praying for. We imagine divine intervention as something glowing, dramatic, angels descending or thunder rolling across the sky, but rarely does grace arrive with such spectacle. More often, it comes disguised as something ordinary: a conversation at the grocery store, a stranger's kind word, a friend's unexpected phone call. Life hides its treasures in plain sight, waiting for us to see with the eyes of wonder rather than the eyes of logic. The irony is that we often pray for help, and when it shows up, we're too proud, too distracted, or too analytical to recognize it. We say, "That can't be it," because it doesn't fit the image of how we thought the blessing would come. We expect grandeur, but God often whispers through the mundane. Remember when Elijah stood on the mountain, expecting to find God in the wind, in the fire, in the earthquake, but he wasn't there. It was the still small voice that carried the presence. The whisper, not the thunder, held the answer. That's how the universe works, quietly, humbly through the most unexpected vessels. Sometimes the person you least expect to help you is the one carrying your key. The co-worker you barely speak to. The neighbor who seems uninterested. Even the stranger who crosses your path for mere seconds. The divine has a way of weaving purpose through people without their awareness. A simple act of kindness becomes a bridge between heaven and earth. The one you overlooked could be the very one positioned to unlock a new chapter of your life. It's never about their status. It's about their assignment. You see, if everything came to you dressed in gold and glory, faith would never be necessary. Faith sharpens your perception. It teaches you to see God in disguise. It invites you to look again, to look deeper. Every encounter, every delay, every interruption could be a divine delivery wearing ordinary clothes. Life is never random, it's artfully composed. The teacher often appears as the student, the blessing as a burden, the miracle as a mistake. It's only when you shift from suspicion to surrender that you start recognizing the sacred in the everyday. There's a story told of a man who prayed fervently for God to save him during a flood. As the waters rose, a neighbor came by in a truck to offer him a ride. He refused, saying, "God will save me." Later, a boat came, he waved it away. Finally, a helicopter hovered overhead, but he turned it down again. When he drowned, he asked God in heaven, "Why didn't you save me?" And God said, "I sent you a truck, a boat, and a helicopter." It's a humorous parable, yes, but also piercingly true. Our expectations often blind us to the very miracles already at work in our lives. So, when you ask for guidance, open your eyes wider. When you pray for provision, pay attention to the small opportunities that knock softly instead of loudly. The universe doesn't always shout, it nudges. It sends signals, patterns, synchronicities, little breadcrumbs that lead you home. And when someone unexpected reaches out, don't dismiss it too quickly. They may not even know why they felt compelled to speak to you, but something larger is moving through them. That's how divine orchestration works, quietly, intricately, without need for recognition. The blessing you seek may already be standing beside you, just not in the form you imagined. Look beyond appearances, beyond assumptions, beyond your preference for how it should look. The divine has a sense of humor. It loves to wrap wisdom in simplicity, power in humility. and revelation in the ordinary. The person you least expect might be carrying the miracle you've been waiting for. There's a rhythm to divine movement that rarely gives advance notice. One moment, everything feels still, routine, predictable, perhaps even stagnant. And then, without warning, the atmosphere shifts, life turns. The door opens, the message comes. Suddenly, what felt like an endless waiting room becomes the birthplace of transformation. This is the principle of suddenness. The mysterious way the universe unfolds in leaps rather than steps. Change does not crawl, it appears. It does not ask for permission, it happens. Think of it like the breaking of dawn. For hours the world lies cloaked in darkness, silent and unseen. But then, almost imperceptibly, light begins to bloom over the horizon. The sun doesn't climb slowly, it bursts forth and everything changes in an instant. The landscape that was hidden is revealed. The shapes that were lost in shadow become clear again. So it is with divine timing. The sudden moments of your life are not accidents, they are awakenings. They are the universe revealing what it has been preparing in secret. You see, we spend so much of our lives thinking progress is linear, as if we're climbing a staircase, one small step at a time. But existence isn't built that way. Growth, healing, awakening, they all happen in sudden bursts. The bamboo plant spends years growing only beneath the soil, invisible to the eye. Then, in a matter of weeks, it shoots up higher than most trees. Was that growth sudden? Not really. It was happening all along, only hidden from view. What appears sudden to you is simply the moment when the unseen becomes visible. This principle has echoed throughout history. Think of Paul and Silas. Bound in a prison cell, surrounded by stone and chains. They sang in the midnight hour, not because they saw the miracle, but because they trusted the one who moves suddenly. And then, without any warning, the ground shook. The doors flew open. Freedom arrived not by logic, but by divine eruption. The same pattern appears again and again. The Red Sea didn't part gradually, it split. Lazarus didn't inch back to life. He was called forth in a single word. When heaven moves, it moves all at once. But here's the paradox. Suddenness always feels sudden only to the unprepared. The universe may move in an instant, but the preparation for that instant has been unfolding quietly within you. Every disappointment, every unanswered prayer, every lonely night was part of the setup. You have been stretched, refined, expanded, made ready for the surge that is coming. When it happens, it won't be chaos, it will be completion. The pieces will finally fit, and you'll realize it wasn't random. It was right on time. The sudden move of God isn't a disruption of your life. It's the revelation of your alignment. It's the moment when your vibration finally matches what the universe has been holding for you. And when that match happens, when your readiness meets divine order, the shift is instantaneous. Not because time has changed, but because you have. The outer world simply reflects the inner transformation that has reached its tipping point. Have you ever noticed how a single conversation, a single decision can change everything? You meet someone, take a chance, forgive, let go, and suddenly, the air around you feels different. That's not coincidence, that's the pulse of creation. The sudden moments are not intrusions, they are invitations. They call you into awareness, into alignment, into participation with something larger than your plans. So when it happens, and it will, you'll feel it. The subtle hum of destiny will rise like a song that's been waiting for your part to begin. Don't resist it. Don't overthink it. Flow with it. The suddenness is not here to scare you. It's here to show you that the divine has been orchestrating every detail for this exact hour. Because sometimes, after years of waiting, the shift comes in a single breath. And when it does, nothing will ever be the same again. Preparation is one of life's quiet mysteries. We often ask for blessings, yet we seldom ask to be shaped into someone who can hold them. It's one thing to receive a gift. It's another to be ready for it. The universe, you see, doesn't just give, it aligns. It waits until the vessel is strong enough to carry the weight of what it's about to pour. And so sometimes before the surprise arrives, life takes you through a refining fire, not to destroy you, but to make room for what's coming. Think about a musician tuning an instrument before a concert. To the untrained ear it sounds chaotic. Discordant notes, random adjustments. But the musician knows that before the song can be played, the instrument must be in tune. Life does the same with us. It stretches us here, tightens us there, adjusts our posture, our patience, our perception. Not because it delights in discomfort, but because it is preparing us for harmony. If the music began before the tuning was complete, the melody would fall flat. The preparation is not a delay, it's a calibration. We tend to think of blessings as single events, moments that happen to us. But more often, they happen through us. They flow where the ground has been cleared. And sometimes that clearing feels like loss, like disappointment, like unanswered prayer. You may not see it yet, but the detours and delays are pruning away everything that cannot survive where you're going. The divine doesn't give you what you ask for until it's sure you won't lose yourself when you get it. It's mercy, not neglect, that slows the delivery. Consider a seed once more. Before it breaks the surface, it must grow in darkness. The roots must deepen before the stem can rise. If the plant shoots up too soon, the wind will break it. But if it's grounded, it will flourish when the light comes. Your preparation works the same way. You are being rooted in wisdom, patience, compassion, all the invisible virtues that hold visible blessings together. You may think you're waiting for the opportunity, but often, the opportunity is waiting for you. Preparation is the sacred bridge between desire and destiny. It's not glamorous, it's gritty. It's the small daily disciplines, the unseen choices, the quiet moments of integrity when no one is watching. That's where readiness is forged. The universe doesn't hand diamonds to those still learning how to handle glass. It refines you first. Through silence, through service, through surrender. It teaches you to carry grace before it gives you glory. And what's remarkable is that readiness isn't about perfection. It's about openness. When your heart is aligned with gratitude instead of fear. When you've learned to let go of control. You become receptive to what's meant for you. The energy of the divine moves through open hands, not clenched fists. If you demand, you delay. If you trust, you attract. The preparation phase isn't punishment. It's permission. It's life saying, "You're almost ready." We tend to pray for the miracle but forget to prepare for its arrival. Imagine if every prayer you've ever spoken were answered right now. Every dream realized, every door opened. Could you sustain it? Could you carry the responsibility, the wisdom, the grace required? That's what this season is for. To build within you the structure that can support the magnitude of your next chapter. The greater the blessing, the deeper the foundation. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the lessons you thought were setbacks were really rehearsals. Every delay was teaching you patience. Every disappointment was shaping your discernment. Every quiet moment was strengthening your spirit to stand under the weight of favor. You were never waiting in vain. You were being prepared in secret. When the surprise finally comes, it will not overwhelm you, it will confirm you. Because you'll recognize it, not as a random gift, but as something your soul has been quietly trained to receive. Preparation is the hidden proof that the promise is real. There comes a moment in every life when the energy shifts. Subtly at first, then unmistakably. It's as if the air itself grows heavier with meaning. As though the ground beneath your feet knows something you don't. You feel it before you see it. A quiet hum in the background of your existence that says, something is about to change. And it's true, because life and its infinite rhythm moves in cycles. There are seasons of waiting, seasons of preparation, and then there are moments of divine acceleration. 1 hour. That's all it takes for everything to rearrange itself in alignment with your next chapter. What's fascinating is how ordinary the moment before a shift can seem. You might wake up thinking it's just another day. You follow the same routine, walk the same path, make the same coffee. But somewhere in the unseen, a current begins to move. Forces you can't perceive start aligning. A conversation takes place miles away that will affect your destiny. A decision is made by someone you've never met that will alter your direction. The great turning points of life rarely come with a warning. They arrive disguised as coincidence. Think about the disciples fishing all night, exhausted, catching nothing. Then, in the span of an hour, a voice calls out, "Cast your net on the other side." They obey and suddenly, their empty nets overflow. It wasn't a different sea or a new technique. It was a shift in timing, a divine alignment. What was barren became abundant. That's the mystery of divine movement. One small act, one obedient moment, can transform lack into overflow. We often imagine change as gradual. But in truth, it's often instantaneous. The heart of transformation beats in the space between one breath and the next. You think you're still in the struggle, but heaven has already changed the outcome. That 1 hour represents the moment your internal vibration catches up with the reality the universe has been preparing. It's not magic, it's resonance. What's yours has always been waiting for you to reach the right frequency to receive it. It's a humbling thought that everything can change so quickly, yet so naturally. The shift isn't random, it's rhythmic. Like the tide that withdraws only to return with greater force, life's retreats are often the setup for its greatest waves. The pain, the stillness, the waiting, all of it builds momentum. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, comes the surge. What you once chased begins to find you. The hour that once felt heavy with longing becomes radiant with fulfillment. It's important to understand that the shift doesn't just happen around you. It happens within you first. External change is the echo of internal transformation. When you release resistance, when you stop demanding and start allowing, the current of divine order begins to carry you. You don't have to push anymore, you simply align. The caterpillar doesn't struggle to become a butterfly. It surrenders to the process. The moment of emergence is sudden, but it is born from surrender. And when your hour comes, and it will, you'll sense it before you see it. Things will begin to move with an ease that defies logic. What was once hard will begin to flow. The doors that refused to open will swing wide. And you'll realize they were never locked. They were waiting for you to arrive, as the person capable of walking through them. That is the meaning of divine timing, not rushed, not delayed, but exact. So, if it feels like you're standing on the edge of something unseen, don't fear it. The tension you feel is simply life gathering itself to leap. Everything that once felt separate is coming together. Every loose thread is weaving into meaning. You are stepping into that 1 hour where heaven's calendar intersects with your own. And when it happens, there will be no mistaking it. You'll know that all along the waiting, the preparing, the unseen orchestration, it was leading here. Because when divine alignment meets readiness, everything changes in a single hour. Expectation is a sacred vibration. It's more than hope, it's alignment in motion. To live expectantly is to live awake, aware that the unseen world is already moving toward you. It's like tuning into a frequency that's been playing all along but waiting for your awareness to catch the signal. When you expect, you don't demand, you prepare the atmosphere of your spirit for recognition. Because what we call a surprise from God isn't truly a surprise to the soul, It's the unveiling of something it has always known was on its way. You see, expectation is not wishful thinking. It's not naive optimism or blind faith, it's participation. When you expect something, you shape your behavior around it. You speak differently, walk differently, see differently. You start moving as though the promise is already in motion. That's what faith looks like when it grows up. It matures into expectancy. Not the kind that strains and stresses, but the kind that breathes. Knowing the divine is never indifferent or distant. The universe doesn't respond to desperation, it responds to resonance. When you live with expectation, you invite the extraordinary into the ordinary. The world becomes charged with meaning. A stranger's smile feels like a message. A delay feels like direction, a closed door feels like redirection. You start to realize that everything, even the inconvenient, is conspiring for your unfolding. This awareness changes how you wait. Waiting no longer feels empty, it feels pregnant. Every moment becomes a womb for possibility. In Scripture there's a rhythm that repeats itself. And suddenly, it happens with the shepherds in the field, with the apostles in the upper room, with the women at the tomb. That, suddenly, moment always comes to those who were expectant, those who stayed awake. Expectation doesn't manipulate divine timing, it synchronizes with it. It's not about forcing a miracle, but about being conscious enough to recognize it when it arrives. Expectation is also humility in disguise. It's saying, don't know how, but I trust that it will. It's surrender without apathy, confidence without control. That's a delicate balance. And yet it's the only one that keeps you at peace in uncertainty. Because if you're always grasping for outcomes, you'll miss the quiet whisper of divine orchestration. But when you rest in expectancy, you create space for grace to enter. Think of it like a seed once again. The farmer doesn't plant and then dig up the soil every morning to check if something's growing. He expects growth because he knows how nature works. He's seen enough seasons to trust the unseen process. You too have seen enough to know that the divine has not brought you this far to leave you barren. Expectation is not denial of difficulty, it's awareness that even in difficulty something sacred is forming. And sometimes, expectation itself becomes the magnet for the miracle. When your energy says, I'm ready, the universe responds. Not because you've earned it, but because readiness is resonance. The door opens when you finally match its vibration. The surprise comes when you've stopped chasing it and started embodying it. Expectation turns your life from a sequence of random events into a dialogue with the divine. You begin to see purpose where others see coincidence. You begin to live as though every breath carries instruction. So as you stand in this moment, this divine hour, don't shrink back into doubt. Lift your awareness. Look around you with new eyes. Something is already shifting in the unseen. The surprise is not waiting for your worthiness. It's waiting for your awareness. The divine is not testing your patience, it's tuning your perception. You are not on the outside looking in. You are standing in the very field where your harvest will appear. And when it comes, it won't feel foreign. It will feel familiar. Like coming home to something you've always known was yours. Expectation is the doorway through which destiny enters.